Alright, so with the Demon Slayer story finally coming to a close, we effectively now have the utmost limitations of our various characters set in stone. And so whereas the themes surrounding its end are those of union, familial bonds, and closure, I will be the demon to pit them all against one another. And to me, there is no better matchup to begin with than the two that started it all. The main characters of our story, Tanjiro and Nezuko, and more specifically, Demon King Tanjiro versus Full Power Nezuko, a true fight for the demonic throne. But before we get swept up into the mayhem, there are a few things we need to establish and consider. First and foremost, although we may be treating this matchup as if it were to the death, logically speaking, these two would not actually be able to kill each other. And that's because it has long since been established that demons cannot kill fellow demons. They cannot take each other out. To the point where the only reasonable way in which they would be able to do so would be to extend the fight and prolong it long enough to where the sun would handle one of them and the other would make their escape. However, because both these characters are immune to the sun, that would not be a possibility. So with them both being truly immortal, I suppose we just have to equate the pretense for victory to be that of domination or extreme severance. And by that I mean they get mashed up so badly that it's a question as to whether or not you could consider them to be truly living or not. Secondly, we will not be considering hypothetical capabilities, meaning we will only be taking into account abilities and or feats that these characters have displayed during their respective runs. So although Tanjiro was the inheritor of Muzan's incredible power, because he did not display abilities like multiple brains and hearts or communion with those previously consumed, we will not be factoring things like that into this discussion. And admittedly, this does somewhat stifle Tanjiro's prospects as his transformation only spanned a mere 2 chapters, but you could really and truly say the same for Nezuko's transformation as well. Although there was a bit more of it shown off during the preceding arc, it wasn't overbearingly substantial by any means. All in all, I do feel as though in regards to time allocation, these two are on an even playing field, at least in that regard. And lastly, there is no talking things through here. It's either win or lose. And with both of these characters being feral in their respective transformations, they don't really talk anyways. Tanjiro is just belligerent and wants to destroy anything in his path, and Nezuko, being bound to protect humans and destroy demons, is especially enraged and angered at the presence of Tanjiro here because he has such a high concentration of Muzan's blood, more than even the Upper Moon demons. So if the presence of Upper Moon 6 alone was enough to send her into a frenzy, she is absolutely berserk in this fight. But now that all of that's out of the way, let us begin. Now, one of Nezuko's more unique abilities would be that of size shifting. The ability to change her size at will has done wonders for her in terms of traversal and damage avoidance. However, funny enough, she has never actually used this ability in a combative sense. She's only ever used it to avoid humans or avoid the sun, making it more of a docile or pacifist ability as opposed to an offensive or defensive one in the heat of battle, especially not in this current transformation of hers. For Tanjiro, other than being able to triumph against the sun, the other reason Muzan decided to turn him into the Demon King was that he'd be able to use his sun breathing with his sword forms, essentially akin to Upper Moon 1. However, because Tanjiro is only ever feral as the Demon King, he does not actually wield his Nichiren blade. In fact, it was already broken. And even if he could, it wouldn't exactly be all that effective against Nezuko because she is invulnerable to the sun. Remember, the only reason Nichiren blades are effective against demons is because of the way in which they are produced. They are forged in relation to the sun, and because she is immune to the sun, she would be immune to the effects of a bright red blade and a Nichiren blade in general. It would just be a regular sword or a regular cutting instrument. On the other hand, Nezuko does have her blood demon art, the spontaneous combustion of her blood. Now, this has also proven itself to be especially useful against other demons because it has certain properties similar to sunlight. And sure, it wouldn't have that same level of potency against Tanjiro because he is immune to the sun, but it is a fire, it is a inferno, it is a blaze, meaning it could still deal damage to him. If nothing else, slowing down his regeneration. Regeneration, which we only saw in regards to him regenerating his arm, which didn't seem to be anything especially noteworthy. It was more so just like your typical demon regeneration. However, when it comes to regeneration, Nezuko is incredible. She possesses extreme regeneration. Even in the case of a demon, it is exceptional. By solidifying the blood that would stem from any severed limbs or anything like that, she is able to almost instantaneously recover from any such damage. To the point where if she were to be going in for an attack and you were to cut off the limb that she intended to hit you with, she could restore back to functionality so quickly that she could still land that blow. When it comes to how they tend to coordinate themselves, they are sort of opposites. Nezuko mostly depends on her legs and her kicking ability, whereas Tanjiro makes swipes with his hands and such. If Nezuko were to have any looming shortcomings when it comes to dealing with other demons, it would to me have to be dealing with numbers. In a straight up 1v1, she is a beast. However, she is easily overwhelmed if there are too many factors going on at once. And so Tanjiro's ability to lash out these bone-like protrusions and tendrils from his body would probably be a difficulty for her to handle. They're powerful enough to carve up the ground, but don't seem to be especially speedy or anything of the sort. In regards to their speed, I'd have to give the slight edge to Nezuko simply because she is kicking based. Most of her movement and power lies in her legs. And Demon Tanjiro, when he made his sprint for the shade in fear of the sun, a severely wounded Gyu was able to catch him before he was able to do so. So speed doesn't seem to be his forte. I mean, Nezuko is able to jump beyond the trees while carrying Tanjiro, so she's pretty adept at evasion. But if she wasn't trying to evade and she was looking for a proper answer to Tanjiro's tendrils, I would say that once again her blood demon art reigns supreme. We have on multiple occasions actually seen her flames go through solid objects and be channeled that way towards her targets, to which she has incredible precision and control over. Any damage that Tanjiro does to her that results in her bloodshed could end up being a double-edged sword against him. In fact, she wouldn't even need to get her blood directly on him, as in her fight against Upper Moon 4, she had her blood on her hands and was able to channel her fire like a blast at a somewhat reasonable range and hit him. And on that note, it seems as though Demon Tanjiro was more so skewed towards range himself, as he is able to launch his own blood demon art, which wasn't even appropriately named, so I might add. Where he sort of shoots out a bijou bomb or a ki blast from his mouth. And in comparing its impact to the ground as opposed to his tendrils, this is far more devastating. It rips the ground apart. However, when Nezuko, human Nezuko mind you, literally put her hand in front of his face while he was doing this attack, it left her hand intact. I mean, it had her bloody a bit, she lost a few nails, but she was still fine. She still had an arm. And I honest to God couldn't tell you concretely how that exactly works, but it is a factor in this because that is Nezuko and she is human. So Demon Nezuko probably wouldn't even feel that damage, to be honest. And because she is such a close range combatant, that means that she would have nothing to worry about against this man. And at that, I suppose his saving grace to keep her from just pummeling him to a pulp here would be that he has a sort of shockwave scream akin to that of Muzan. He is able to exclaim and just utterly push everything around him away. And this operates in a complete 360 around him. However, if anyone is too close to him, like literally clutching onto him as Nezuko was, they don't get blown away because he is sort of like the eye of the storm. There is a bit of pressure there, pressure for a human, but in regards to a demon, it really wouldn't be too much. But then again, probably the scariest thing about Nezuko is that she is able to get like a Zenkai boost during the fight. She is able to power up and get stronger progressively as she is fighting. So in what I would imagine would be a rather prolonged battle, Nezuko would just keep getting better and better against this man. And so at this point, I'm pretty sure it's become rather clear to you that full power transformation Nezuko would completely and utterly throttle Demon King Tanjiro. Which is sort of a shame because Sun Resistance out the window, she isn't even as strong as Upper Moon 4. So without Sun Resistance, I wouldn't even bet on Demon King Tanjiro beating Upper Moon 6. Both of these transformations had so much potential, but it is what it is. Nezuko comes out on top. And so with all that being said, I am very curious how you guys might be feeling towards these transformations, these characters, how the story has progressed with them and what have you. Like, if I'm being completely honest with you, my favorite Tanjiro transformation actually occurred in the same time frame that Nezuko's transformation did, which was also my favorite arc of the series thus far. Blood Tier Tanjiro is sauced up and nobody can tell me different. But certainly feel free to do so in the comments. The Demon Slayer manga may be coming to a close in the month of May, but that doesn't mean that our coverage of the series has to end as well. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more like it, please let us know so we can keep bringing you that kind of good stuff. Because when it comes to bringing you some of the best Demon Slayer content on the platform, Plot Armor has you covered. As always, I am Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.